Hello again, welcome back, another episode of Bob. If you like this kind of stuff, if you don't, can't help all the people, contact me down there somewhere, or via email, churchhouseclassics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. I'll do my best to respond to you. Been a bit of a funny week really, because I've had kind of weapons grade man flu, well, a cold, let's face it. But it was a bit of a grumpy one, so I went home to go and sort some odds and sods out with the missus, then went down with a cold, cut the hedge, blah, 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 load of old bollocks, and then ended up not wanting to bring the cold back down to Devon and give it to my dad. So, stayed in Wickham, which means there's not been a huge amount of progress on Bob. But now I worked yesterday, Saturday, and today, Sunday, the weekend before Halloween, whatever date that is. I don't know. If you fancy buying me a pint, down here somewhere scrolling along. Thank you very much. If you fancy supporting the channel, same link. And please subscribe and hit the old dingy bell thing if you're on your computer as well, because all of these things, they help the YouTube algorithms, blah de blah, and increase my revenue. One thing I don't do, by the way, and I hope you've noticed this, so on new videos I don't allow the YouTube algorithm to enforce adverts into the middle of my presentations. I actually turn that feature off, because when I watch videos and I see it, it really irritates me. Sorry YouTube, and I know your algorithm says it won't disrupt your viewing. It does. That's why I turn it off on my videos. So if you've got a video of mine and it is turned on, let me know. I'll turn it off. So in this video, and this is at the beginning of this video, I'm going to finish off this bulkhead. I've had it with working on the bulkhead now. As you can see, that's the driver's side that I had started to work on. We can see the distortion down here, which I'm going to correct in a minute. That's the passenger side, which I started to weld on. You can see that's much better. Still got some distortion there, but nowhere near as much. And I'll be able to straighten that out. I don't know where I got to with that lot. The missus called up. But anyway, what I'm going to do today, I probably won't video much of it because it's all fairly straightforward stuff here. But when I do come to correct this piece of stretching here, I've also noticed that's stretched in there as well. So what I need to really do is to cut through these welds with a 1mm grinder, with a 1mm cutting disc, yeah, and then pull it out. Probably just need to start, if I start on that piece there, and then pull it upwards, might find that releases an awful lot of the stress. I think what I've basically done when I was welding this is just put too much heat into one area, and it's caused this piece here, the thinner piece, no sorry, the thicker piece, because that's got the reinforcement on the back of it, to expand. And it's taken its sweet time coming back. Over here I didn't have that problem. Once I grind that weld back, that'll be pretty flat, be in good order. And then what I was doing then, this is the piece I was talking about, so I picked up the wrong bit. I picked up the bit from the driver's side. So I found the original piece that I cut off from the passenger side, which went in like that, okay, and here on this I can see the brackets that I'm going to need for the brake line and the fuel line. I can also see where the hole was originally for the floor, sorry, for the gearbox cover to bolt onto, and these two reinforcing pieces here that just give it a little bit of structure. So there's one down there which runs along this edge here, and there's a little one at the top here which runs along that edge there. So I think once I've tidied that little bulge there and put the two reinforcing pieces on, and the bracket, which can be dead easy to make up out of just folding a bit of 18 gauge steel by the looks of things, and then just spot weld that on. Well, it won't be a spot weld, it'll be a plug weld, but you know what I mean. So that's all fairly straightforward. Now up here on the top, and this is where it's interesting. So what we've effectively got here is this plate here looks to be original, and it's got this bracket on the inside of it. Now I've never ever had one that's been not as entirely fucked as this, but what it actually looks like is that the floor originally went straight across here like this. That was how the factory did it, and then they spot welded it and made a nice little kind of gap, because if you imagine that goes there like that, made a nice little gap for the dirt and the crap to get into along this edge here, which is why they quite often rot out along this edge. So it's nice when you get a piece like that, so you can actually go back on the archaeology and realise, fucking hell, Richard, get over yourself. Understand how these things were originally bolted together. And it also then explains why this piece is so bloody complicated. So I guess in some ways I've removed that rust strap there. So it's less likely now to rot along this area, which is quite a common place for these to rot, believe it or not. Nice, huh? Well, I think so anyway. Right, okay, pub was lively last night, I tell you. Oh yes. 3 pints of Exeter Brewery Lighterman. Actually 4 pints, but 3 pints for a tenner. Well, it's rude not to, isn't it? What can possibly go wrong? Right. Okay, I've got the repair piece out. So all I've done here is just lined it all up with the remains of the old bits. Everything lines up beautifully. Got my 2 holes down here. The 2 drilled holes that I drilled right in the corners, and they match up beautifully with this. So although the flanges are wider on these repair panels, that doesn't bother me because I've got the datum point here on those 2 holes. As long as they're both in place, then the rest of it will be beautiful. And in fact, that bit lines up there with that top hole there. Look at that. So I know that lines up as well. So really it's just a case now of getting the... In fact, you can see them on here. You can see where the original spot weld was. 3. And then there's another one up here, so 4. 5. There's one there. So I'd normally just put a red dot in the middle of each of these and then just attack it with a grinding disc. With the grinding disc, or even just a sanding disc, just go down through the steel. So that I'm basically taking the spot weld out, and then this piece, I should just be able to chisel it off with a chisel. And the same up here. I'm going to have to run a cutting disc through these welds along the edges here on both sides, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then once I've done that, this fella can go on. Now the only thing that's going to be a challenge on this is this edge along here. Now this edge, when I did the passenger side, I actually cut it along the very, very edge of the reinforcing plate, which sits right behind here on the bulkhead mount. Okay, so the reinforcing plate sits right behind there, and I cut it right along the edge there, and the idea was do a smooth kind of butt weld on the outside. The reason I've not done that bit yet is because obviously I need to grind this bit out, not giving you the bird, grind that bit out, then on the inside I will put some decent welds against the reinforcing piece. And then I think really as far as the top edge is concerned, I think that was the piece that I'd already cut out. That needs to be folded and put up there. You can see there's a slight bit of adjustment required there, which is again why I've not welded right at the end here, but there's so much curvature on these bloody things, it's ridiculous. Which is why series bulkheads are so much easier. But once they're done, ignore that bit, once they're done, it's alright actually. And once that's all grip blasted back, I'll be fine. I still need to dress these welds here. Not dress these welds. What are you talking about, Richard? I still need to deal with the dents that are here. I told you about in a previous video, just not done that yet. And it's going to get a bit biblical in a minute. It was biblical yesterday. L95 there, patiently waiting. His ABS is causing me problems again. I'm going to do a little feature on ABS again. Because I think it's a resistance in the wire, in the circuit somewhere. There's a connector that's got high resistance. Because if I clear the codes, the fault goes away for 250 miles and then comes back again. Then once this thing's been, we're sort of bouncing around a bit here, aren't we? Once this thing has been grip blasted back, then it will be painted with an epoxy primer. Then I will seam seal around all of these areas down here. Okay, seam seal everywhere that needs to be seam sealed, and then it will be top coated. Same colour, because it has been asked, going back to Tuscan blue. It's quite nice actually, I like Tuscan blue. It's a flat colour. There's something quite attractive about it. If you find a decent bit, it's a nice colour. Right, onwards, I think. Right, so the battery ran out of my phone, sorry, my camera yesterday, so I wasn't able to finish off the videoing of the work I was doing on this passenger side, but, yes. Right, okay, so basically what I've done here is kind of butt welded this whole new floor pan section in, got it all lined up absolutely beautifully. I just need to adjust the floor as it goes past there, just needs to bend up, but I can't do that until I know that the floor is in the right place, but it's kind of 9/10 of the way there. I need to dress up some of these welds. Some of this needs some sealing. There's a couple of areas where I blew through, so I blew through there and up here. It's not a huge issue. I just was going absolutely berserk with the welder on too high a current. There's a couple of holes up here I just want to plug back in again, and on the outside. Oh, it's my phone. Right, that was the landlord for the unit. So we're all go on that now. Which is good news, isn't it? Anyway, back to Bob's bulkhead. I don't know where I got to with this video, so there may be a bit of continuity issues here. But this edge here, apart from filling in some holes and just grinding some welds back, I'm putting these brackets on. So I put one strengthening plate on down here, just to tidy the welds up. So that's the passenger side. We're facing forwards at the moment. Heater unit goes here, gearbox, blah blah blah. On this side here, distortion wasn't quite so much in this piece here, because I've managed to straighten this out, and where all the tension is along this edge here. As you can see, what's happened is when I've been welding it on the other side, it's not actually come tight onto this big reinforcing plate here. So what I'm going to do first of all is run a cutting disc along here, down there, see if I can pull it tight, and if I can, then just re-weld it. If I can't, I might need to take this plate off or cut down from here. But at the moment we'll see if we can just retrieve it just by cutting, welding. Okie dokie, right, bulkhead fits beautifully. Now, we're pissing around now with the inner and the outer sill. So this is the inner sill section. Ah, here comes the rain again. That's the inner sill section. As you can see, I've already put the mounts on it. This is this is the passenger side sill. So basically what happens is it mounts on the other way round. That's towards the back of the car, that's towards the front of the car. And what we basically need to do with this thing is to line these two up, get them roughly in position, then just check it fits on the chassis. And when we know it all fits, then it'll be a case then of welding it up. Now, what's nice about these ones is they come with the bloody big holes there for the seat bolts, the seat base bolts to go through. So I need to find myself some nuts for now. That'll do. And then really it's just a case of getting this onto here and lining it up with the holes. Thank you, Mr. Gravity. Most welcome. As is predictable, the holes don't quite line up. They're not far out. Why is that not going right up to the edge over there? There's a blob of weld on it. Right, let's slide that off. This is a big blob of weld up here. Wants to be flapped off. Let's get this flap. Bulkhead is it fits like a flipping glove. There we go. Some restraints for the folk who don't like me swearing. Fits like a flipping glove. Now, I'll just take this piece off. Now let's see if it fits. What's better, slip a bolt through. It's not perfect, but it's better. Sorry, lots of noise there, chaps. Not much fun for you. Put the volume tone right up. I think for this car, it fits well enough. Now, because of that, what I'll do is I will just drill and put a couple of poplar bits through this bottom edge here, because that should line up there. And then we've got a complete inner outer sill section which I can mount onto the car. I've already mounted these inner sill sections by the way. They've already been mounted onto the chassis, and I know that my chassis works was absolutely perfect. Of course it was. I did it. I measured it enough times. I don't think I could have measured it many more times. Those roughly in place. Check to see what alignment's like. See, that wants to. Can you see that bit up there? You can. This bit here. This is the rear sill mount. So that bit there wants to be welded. Bolt hole really line up, which is not unsurprising. Well, if I do it like that, so let me put that up there like that. What I might need to do here, and I've got a deep throat clamp. Oh. It's really useful for doing things like this, I tell you. Get it roughly in the right sort of space and clamp it all up. I'm not welding yet because I want to fit it onto the car first. But I do want it in the right sort of place. That bolt goes straight there. They sort of line up. Yeah, that lines up. Go. Put you on top of the pass washer. Now, can you see from there? Hi, yes you can. If I close the door you can see even better. See? That bolt's come out. Just put that bolt back in here. There we are. That lines up beautifully now. There we are. One sill, inner and outer. Beautifully welded, sorry, beautifully screwed. Oh. First, fiddle around the front box. That goes on. Oh, that's not gone. No, that's not gone. It needs to go. Up, on. So fucking close. Oh, that's good though. It lines up beautifully there. Just get this bolt in. Let's take the back one out. Back one's out. There's a problem, it's a bit more of a fiddle, you see. Because it's got to go underneath the edge of the bulkhead. Oh, come on. Oh, it's just a faff, that's all. Right now, this one goes straight in. There we are, both bolts are in. One sill. Screws on here, obviously the two halves weld together, and the B post and the A post. So I've got the section for the A post bolts against the side of the bulkhead here. So I think the next thing to do is get the side frame out and see what on earth we've got going on with the side frame. It's starting to look like a car again. The other thing I do need to get out is I need to get the gearbox cross member out because that does need some welding. Driver's side frame. This is exactly as I removed it when I stripped the entire car down. Now, while it looks like it's got a very solid sill, it's actually just big lumps of steel angle line. It's horrible. So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to chop it off here. I think that's pretty much free anyway there already. I just need to take off the inside edge of the floor, so I'll mark where that goes, and then really you're going to chop down through the A post, leave this on the floor, lift the A and B posts out, and then we should be able to get this thing organised. What I might do as a precaution, I suppose I could weld a bar across the inside. Let me just lay this down so you can see what's going on here. Right, so here, this piece here, that's for the rear seat support. I'm going to have to change that at some point. Here we've got a bit of old road sign. There you go. All of this lot's going to get cut out anyway, as is most of this rail up here. As you can see, it's kind of gone. It's got a seatbelt mount over there, which I want. That's quite useful. Alan didn't have those. And then, as I did with the front section of the car, just I'd cut this off here and along the top here. That will then free up this section, because as you can see on the inside here, there's nothing holding that on. And then on here, it's just going to be a case of cutting through. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 of the bolt fixings that go to the A post. So enough of this that I can get it aligned in the right place. I think what I'm then going to do, this piece here, on the whole, isn't bad. I know it looks fucking terrible, bear with me. This piece here on the whole isn't bad, so it's just a case then I'll put welding flat steel in to make up this section here, which I should be able to do. But I think the first trick is really going to be blowing a gale. I don't know if you can actually hear any of this. The first trick is going to be to get that A post off. Then we've got the sill section, as you've seen, is on the car. It's only loose fitted in, but it's lifted the bulkhead up to exactly where it needs to go. And I'm happy enough with it. I've got the other one in place as well, so the bulkhead's now at exactly the right elevation. Nice, you notice here, this is correct, by the way, that the floor pan goes underneath the bulkhead, so when the front tyres kick all the crap up, it goes into the gap that's there. That's normal. That's why these things rot out. Yeah, and then here, you see, that's the edge that I need to grind back off the B post. No, we know exactly where that needs to go, and then we've got the 4 holes here for the A post. So if I can get that in place without the sill on it, then I can start to work out what needs to be done to the A post and the bottom of the B post. And it should all be beautifully aligned then, shouldn't it? Then once the A post and the B post are in alignment, what I was thinking was whether I'm actually going to worry about putting a brace across the inside here. To be honest, I don't think I am. I think I'm going to trust it, because I know where the A post needs to go, and I know where the B post needs to go, because I've got this line down here, which is factory. That's factory line there. So that's exactly where that needs to go to. I shall make up this channel here. Let's just get out this wind because it's too blowy and it's not going to be able to hear any of that. That's the gearbox cross member. It's challenged, but it's not beyond saving. So I'll go over this with a needle scaler. We'll see what happens with that. Let's do the side panel first of all. So as you see, the side frame fits onto the car. I'm going to drop a bob line from the top of the windscreen rail down to the sill, once it's all largely clamped in place. Before I do that though, I wanted to replace this piece, and I wanted to replace the section on the other side here, which you can see I've cut out there. Sorry, I'm lifting it up very cat-handedly. Let me lift it up from this edge here. Hey! So over here you can see how I've chopped off the back edge of the A-post. This forward edge I can make good on that, except for the bit right at the bottom, but the rest of this I can make good on it. I'm happy with that. So the key thing with this now is that I need to get some steel tube for the bolts to go through, and literally what they do is butt weld them up to the inside here. So I'm going to replace this piece on the inside of this curved section here, but other than that I think it's going to be fairly straightforward. And then they go straight through here and then they weld around the outside of that. So I need to get some of that kind of bolt holes for the door hinge bolts, and then once all that's out, clean all this back, see what's salvageable, what isn't, and then work on it. But to be frank, I'm sick to death of welding and grinding. And this happens from time to time. You just think, oh, do you know what, I've had enough of this shit. After doing all of that lot yesterday, so getting the bulkhead back on, getting the passenger side sill all together, give the welder a rest, give the ears a rest from the angle grinder screaming away. I've had enough of all of that crap. So what I'm going to do is leave that for the time being, and I'm going to get on with putting the A-frame back on the car. So this is a refurbished A-frame. Refurbished. All I've really done is put a new ball joint on for the bottom of the bow strut, and put a new ball joint here for the top of the axle, which goes in there. So I'm going to get that on. I've got new bolts, I've got new poly bushes, all a fairly straightforward way of doing this. And then I might have a go at this cross member. We'll see. We'll see how my patience takes me to do. What's nice though, this bulkhead now is absolutely rock solid. Now the sills are literally just wedged underneath those front footwell bits. That bulkhead is solid as a solid thing. And I've not put any bolts through it yet. All I've done is drop the bolts through the mountings, but nothing tightened up, and it is just solid. Ain't going nowhere, which I'm quite pleased about. Right, let's get on with this. Not going to be a huge amount of fun to watch, so I will just assemble it, just in case of putting the poly bushes into these arms, getting the torquing these on before I put the arms on the car, and then just offering the whole damn lot up and bolting it into place. Okay. When you're kind of doing one of these things, there's a not inconsiderable amount of stuff really that needs to be cleaned up. So these fellas here, these are the lower tailgate hinges. I've got a set of top tailgate hinges already. But the amount of crap that gets on these things, as you can see here, just picking and picking. This one's still got its original pin through it, but it's stuck. So now I know which side the splines are on. I shall give it a bit of heat and tap that out later on. These are the rear body mounts that I salvaged off the slave chassis, off the scrap chassis. And I went over these yesterday with the wire brush, gave them a quick grip blast, and they come up all right. I mean, all of this stuff you need just a coating of the rust grip. These two chaps here come up nicely. They're the gearbox mounts that go onto the chassis, etc., etc., etc. But you know,